And
Can
we
you
are
hear me?
back. We're live. Yes, I can hear you after some technical. Seem a little laggy right now, but I'm sure everything will iron itself out. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Midwich on Air. This is our ISE post wrap. And for those celebrating here in the US, happy President's Day. I added to that one. For the folks that have a happy Valentine's Day. I hope everything went well. Jenny, I hope your Valentine's Day was good. Well, I was traveling. I just got back. I just flew in from, man, I've been waiting to say this joke. I just got back from Portugal, and boy, my arms are tired. And I think I screwed up that joke because apparently I have to fly in and do that. But yes, I did my post ISE time over there, and it was not the fun and jovial time that I typically have. It was a country that's still recovering post hurricane, and a lot of things were closed. A lot of things weren't working properly. I did have internet. I was able to work, so I do have a lot of post ISE wrap and follow ups that I did. Jenny, how was your ISE, and how has it been since recovery mode?
So I don't understand how this works, right? But if I take like a week off to go on holiday, I'm able to return to work and be more or less straight after 3-4 days of catching up, right? But when I get back from ISE, it feels like I spend the next 6 weeks saying, sorry, I'm still catching up from ISE. And that's kind of still where I'm at the moment. But it was great. It was, I'm going to say the same thing that I said last year. It was too big. So I was really gutted not to make it over to Hall 8 just to see the setup for the Spark conference. I've since seen pictures of like the Tomorrowland ceiling with the LED tiles, and I wish I'd been able to get over there. But in the nicest way possible, Hall 8 is too far away, and there are not enough days of the show for me to be able to get over there. So it worries me, how much I potentially missed and didn't see. But it was good. What were your highlights, Chris?
So, and that you just actually a kind of just brought a memory here. Prior to going to ISE, I was CES. Now, CES is a show in comparison. We do not have anything like it in AV. Should I be attending as an AV person, CES? It may be beneficial for you to send somebody to take a look at what's coming.
Yeah.
Because of our influences now coming more from the consumer side than it was on the commercials years ago, where we were taking more. We're now showing up in the office space. So yes, there's something to be said there. Need to look at. Now I'm super laggy all of a sudden. Whatever the case is,
I think you may have
CES is a show that takes. No, I'm never going to be normal, Jenny. We've discussed this. That's just inherent. But one of the things that I noticed at CES is that CES takes those elements that we banish to the furthest halls and put them front and center. Yes, it's valuable show space from an event perspective, and I get that. But there is something to be said about, broadcasting live from as opposed to a shack in the back somewhere, if you want to call it that. Yeah. So yes, that the logistics part of it is correct. I see. There are still halls that I don't know where they are. I walked into hall 4 and 5, which you would think hall 4 would be right next to us at hall 3, but apparently you have to go to make a right where I was making, and hall 5 was behind us, but hall 4 was on the other side. Just new math. Blame it on new dealing with that. I just don't think you count for more that way. There's a lot of angles. But anyway, what did I see? Unfortunately, time this year at our booth, a good place to be, than I did on the show floor. Show floor experience is what I do quietly when remember, I'm never normal. I love getting to a show early. I like to walk in when there's, so I'm the first one taking a taxi
Yeah.
out of my hotel, which takes about a half hour to get to, regardless of where you stay. I'm the first one on the show floor. I love to be there when the cleaners are still vacuuming and it's quiet, and I get to walk and I get to look at some stuff that's left on overnight. And to me, it's almost Zen-like, because that's the calm before the storm, and I get every day, 4 days prior to the show opening. So I then have to go and on Fridays is when I would take a look, but my Friday got wrapped up with some appearances and things that I had to do. So yeah, and I had more customers there than ever before. The Americans are going there. The Canadians were there in full force. I can talk to you about attending my first professional Audiovisual Society of Canada's. Gav McGuinness invited me to, and I loved the opportunity to go see there. And I went with our brethren there as well, who rightfully were, well, they're Canadian folks. But yes, I would absolutely more time, and I'd love a little bit of a gap where I can go see. There are some things that I know that me and you both agree on were highlights of the show because of buzz. Strictly because a lot of people came to our booth, and I asked them the questions. What are you guys looking at? And I have a take. I was right about the LED and the transparent, not the bleeding through concept that the Absen alt had at Infocom. A lot of folks saw a lot of different things like that. And I think that's really kind of cool. And a lot of people that came our way that are on the experiential side of the business said yes. They see the improvements by leaps and bounds. And that's a noticeable, visible opportunity. Like changing the speed or the clock rate on something, you don't tell us, oh, that's awesome. You can visibly see an improvement in this because it goes from ghosting to something more. Your eye catches it a lot quicker. It's a lot clearer. So you can visibly see the improvements on something like that. Yeah. I hope that's what you were asking me, Jenny. If not, I just talked for a long time.
I think, like, when we talk about those products and the sort of evolution in LED, for example, one of the things that became clear to me that maybe wasn't the case before is, like, historically, I always found people were saying, what's the latest technology, video and visual technology? And then they might come up with ideas of their content or concept around what the latest thing was, so that they had the best available at the time. We're at the other end of that now. You should be, as an experiential designer, as a retail designer, as a shop front designer, whatever your role, or content creator, you should be saying, this is what I want. So what's the technology that fits my vision? And it's so true of something like the transparence, in that you need what you're creating in the transparent film or OLED, whatever technology you're using. It needs to feature something behind it. The behind it has to be part of the content story as well. Otherwise,
it's layering.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, layering of content. Yeah, like Photoshop. And then, but we are finally in that place now where you can say, this is my idea, and we will have a technology to fit it. Whereas go back sort of 5 or 6 years, it was the other way around, and it was, what's the latest and what should I design in order to use it? And that's quite a clear sign of maturity in this area, in this market. And the fact that, some of these more transparent and mesh models are now coming out from the much larger manufacturers in this space, whereas it was quite a niche area to start off with. But I mean, for me, so, okay, this year was the year of the cloud management platform. I don't think there's anyone that doesn't have one. And yet everybody shouts that, this is our big revolution. We now have our cloud management platform. And you just sort of walked around the show going, yep, you and everybody else. And I think it's great. but it's not a differentiator. And I suppose to make sure that the same thing doesn't happen at Infocom, please, manufacturers, listen to me. You're not the only one. So yes, you have a cloud platform. Absolutely. We want to see how it works, what the ease of use is like and so on. But stop gaslighting us that you're the only ones doing this and that this is some huge USP. Almost everybody has a management platform to look after their devices. More exciting are the management platforms that look after lots of different manufacturers' devices.
There's your single pane, window pane, and that's the look in where companies
Single pane of glass.
Smart a single pane of glass. And that's where companies like Smart Monkeys are really kind of excelling with that, because they're taking all those multiple cloud platforms and giving you the one window to look at. You know, that's why our friends at NetSpeak and the alliances that they've forged and moved forward with is important, because it's creating that single pane, right, of glass. And even with brands like Cadence, you know, now starting to reach out into the manufacturer space and providing their analytics into other people, it's a smart move. It's not just standalone now, folks. It's you gotta wrap this all together, because ultimately it only goes back to one knock with one person sitting there and one person wanting one screen, not 1,000. The days of, you know, the 1980s War Games, movie where there's 1,000 different things. Man, I just dated myself. Where you have 1,000 different screens in front. It used to be cool, not anymore. You have to do more with less, and that includes the fact that you only have two eyes. And 100 screens is not going to work.
Closing yourself off either to that sort of, I'm going to steal it again from Scott Freshman, but the ecosystem. The ecosystem is still necessary. So I wasn't going to rant yet, but I will. So my page one is headline and trends. My page two is my rant. Okay, so let's do this and then we can get on to the happy stuff, right? So I usually moan about brand spreading, you know, vendors that are looking for growth opportunities, and rather than, you know, really honing in on what they do best, they start to make product that sits outside of their core expertise, and that's fine, and I understand it, and everyone needs to grow, and there's trending products in the market, and so you know, if you have the ability to go make them, then you do, and I understand why they would want to have an, you know, a ecosystem as such. I get it. However, I had started to hear not a lot of noise, but a bit of noise about with potential memory shortages or other you know, what's going to happen? Are we going to end up in a situation where we have stock shortages like we experienced post-COVID? In which case, open standards is the way forward, because if somebody hasn't got something, I can mix and match from another. And I'll be honest, I came quite close to drinking the the open standards Kool-Aid last week before. Who knows? And I did. I started thinking, maybe there's something to this, and then I had a conversation with the visionary team that completely spun that around for me, and it made so much sense. And when something makes a lot of sense, it's generally true. So my view is, or rather, I have been successfully switched onto the view of Scott Freshman. There's a difference between interoperability and interchangeability. Interoperability is great. Interoperability is Excite, is Open API, is management platforms that talk to everything. Interoperability is making sure that your products are as friendly to other products that may or may not compete with some of your portfolio. Who cares? If it's right for the customer's system, it's right. A systems integrator is called a systems integrator. They're not called Crestron reseller, QSys reseller, or whoever. They are supposed to be there.
Systems assimilator.
Yeah, exactly. That their role is to know what's going on from everyone. And if you're completely closed off to all but one or two manufacturers, if you will only deal in end-to-end ecosystems, then it's highly possible at some point your client's going to miss out, or you won't be able to meet their needs analysis, which could mean you lose the deal. But the biggest thing So interoperability, good. Interoperability, we like. Everybody has a responsibility to do a bit of interoperability. Interchangeability, which is what some of the open say. So you've got one extreme to the other. Our Miko systems, you need nobody but us. And then we've got the future is open standards, which is the case in the IT world. But in the IT world, it's commoditized, it's cheap, it's not us. Or you've got broadcast standards and they come at a hell of a price, very different to what we're used to in commercial AV, professional AV. So interchangeability, if you want that, comes with a lot of risk. And right now, it's probably quite dangerous. If you're wanting to have one manufacturer's product at one end and another manufacturer's product at the other end, there's a strong possibility that no one's going to take ownership of anything that goes wrong. Maybe we get there at some point. Yeah. Maybe we get there one day. There are standards in the broadcast world. They come at a premium price for them that can deliver you that. Maybe that's the way we head. SDVOE has that written all over it at some point when budgets allow, when we're less concerned about compression, we're more concerned about latency. Yes, that's when SDVOE comes into its own, and probably at the same price point that we see in the broadcast world. But coming down a few levels in terms of price point, right now, it's a bit concerning. It's not a standard, and we start moving into that IT world. So I felt quite comfortable walking away from that conversation in that, there's a lot of risk in closing yourself off to single vendor Miko systems. There's also a lot of risk looking for products that are interchangeable. And actually, when you look at the interchangeability, yes, we've got some of the screen manufacturers adding IPMX receiver modules and so on. I would say, and they're not products we sell. If you want to use that, if it's Matrox in the Sharp NEC or the Panasonic product, go for a Matrox at the head end, because we're not there yet. So be very careful not to get sucked into interchangeability as possible. We didn't see any evidence that it 100% is. And as for the sort of closed off systems, I met a few unhappy integrators that felt that they were being pushed by certain manufacturers in a you should only buy from us. If we don't make it, then you don't sell it kind of direction. And they were not impressed. It's just not historically how we've worked. And I think that it would be a shame to start heading down that route that you are this house or that house. No, you should be an expert in everything. The clue is in the name, systems integrator.
Did we not see this happening? Like, this is so many years ago when AV started going down this IT path. Did we not see this happening? Like, now I'm going to get wax poetic because I think that IT drops a lot of the creativity, and I've had arguments and discussions with people on AV and the AM regarding this. IT, in my book, has never been creative. It's never understood the wow. It's never cared about the brightness, the loud, the audible. It delivers. It delivers on bland better than everybody else. And we are integrators for a reason, because we do not deliver bland. We have to deliver something that is not only user-friendly, which they're concerned with, don't get me wrong. Obviously, end user ability to use stuff is paramount with an IT group. But it always comes back to the desk side support conversation. You would get a monitor. The monitor was never the right size because you worked in CAD. They didn't understand that. They just delivered a standard based on a piece of paper that was written, right? You needed a computer with more memory. That was a 5-month process to deliver a computer, because they bought standard computers. They bought on bid and got a great deal on a package with an all-in-one audio and video chipboard and whatever. And that didn't deliver what we needed from multiple cameras. And the early evidence of this is as we started moving into the higher end UC conversations, the standard corporate laptop the output from the video card was not living up to the spec that even the Zooms and the Microsoft Teams wanted, because they couldn't deliver two things at once. It was designed to just deliver working at the time, where the USB wasn't strong enough. So many issues. I have my gripes in the collision of AV and IT, because I don't think it was ever really formally done right. I think there needed to be a separation of church and state, as they say, where they, one was more the delivery and the other one was, let's look at what you're delivering and make sure that you have enough pipe. I don't think that conversation happens like, hey, here's the road. It's a single lane highway or a 2-lane
Well, we know
highway.
it doesn't
But
happen.
guess what?
Because we pulled it back. It didn't happen. And so we grabbed it back from them and said, for real AV distribution, we will use network, but we'll make it dedicated. So we've pulled it back from the IT sector already and said, we can't trust you not to make updates, have a ripple effect, or show a lack of respect to the level of quality that we expect in audio visual signals. And because of that, we have seen this retraction from the idea of networked AV sitting on the LAN. And we now see 90% of projects going out on a dedicated network with or without internet access. That's null and void. But typically, we don't mess around by having anything compete for bandwidth with our audio and video signals. And already, if we've worked that out, I think that, we're not ready as an industry for true open standards yet, because we couldn't trust that part of the market to work with us. It's but just not. I don't think anyone wants it either. That's the key. It's a lovely pitch. It's a great sales pitch, but it's
I have a question for you,
real.
Jenny. Is this conversation of the AVIT headache or the botch? It's not a botch. Whatever you want to call this disturbance in the force. You're a Star Wars person. You would understand that. Is this more present in one vertical than the other? Like, is this more present in the UC space than it is? Obviously, enterprise broadcast. There's only two paths you take. You either take compressed or uncompressed when it comes to the transport. But in UC, is this where this battle continues, and this is where the problem is still present, and that's where this conversation is furthered? Or do you think it's also present
in UC it works? So in UC, for me, it's platform based. A lot of the pressure is put on the platform. You select the platform, and we bolt the hardware onto it and the peripherals onto it. And the reality is that those platforms, the three most popular, in fact, are all part of your business critical application stack. So because the platforms are part of the business's UC stack, they already get that priority, etc. That's required. What's difficult is to get across to IT personnel that the audio and video streams for signage, for your control room, etc., are just as important as that priority bandwidth that they give to the cloud platforms. It's difficult to get that across. So for me, IT and AV blend nicely in the UC space, and AV and broadcast blend well in the signal distribution space, because we value the same thing. So our values align with IT when it's platform first for communications, and our values align with broadcast more closely when it's about quality of signal. And then sitting in the middle is our experiential AV and fixed installation. And that's where we're not ready yet to lean into one side or the other on this topic. Anyway,
great take,
rant
because
over.
Honestly, rant is over, but thank you for laying it out like that. So
I took a couple of pictures.
Let's do happy news.
Okay, let's do happy. I took a few pictures. So here are my show shout outs. I did say to producer Kerry that for this one, I didn't want to go back and say what we told you was going to be good on the pre-show show was good. So just assume, because I haven't told you that it wasn't, that everything that we highlighted on the pre-show show was excellent and made my highlights list. But rather than give you a repeat show, here comes stuff that I didn't know was going to be there that impressed me. So I think we've got a picture of the spatial display from Samsung. So I took a picture deliberately of this, not on their booth, but in the entrance area, because of how they had it, made it quite clear that when you're stood in front of it, it looks like it's a box, but it's not. And so I've got the left-hand side screen there showing that it's skinny and slim, like any other display. So, simple, niche. You know, there's certain applications, but great, good to see. Then a big shout out. Well, we also have to reference, I think, the prettiest thing I saw was on the Epson stand with the hangy dangly, like shards of, it looked like glass, but it wasn't. It was like perspex, and then they were projecting onto them. They were all different colors. I think I grabbed that as a video, so I don't know if Kerry's able to play that. And I mean, if you stood in front of it, you could stand there for an hour just going, oh, it's nice. It's a really good way of demonstrating as well how projection can be used for creative lighting, architectural lighting structures, not always animation or detailed content. So yeah, I was quite impressed with that. Let's shout out to.
There was another great example of that, by the way. If you went into traveled the halls, there was one where they had an experiential arcs kind of. It reminded me of the Chicago airport, where you walk in and they have a whole big moving sidewalk, and you have this light show above you. But instead of using lighting, they use projectors to add the lighting on the walls. So I couldn't tell if they were Epson or Panasonic that were being used. Now there's folks that are going to argue and say you should just use lighting to do it, but for some reason they went with the projector thing, and then you kind of notice why, is because they did bring in or smooth in other things, other images into it. So it took lighting to another level. Yes, projectors as lighting is, some may look at as expensive or odd, but when you do need to add a brand to it, or you're adding an emotional element to it, and you have it there, it does dual purpose. So in that case, the cost justification for using projection as lighting kind of makes sense, especially in an experiential. Like I could see that in a theme park, but at the same token, I can also see that in a retail situation or a lobby where you're now creating an emotional impact, a kind of an experiential entrance into the space. And I think we're finally, all this kind of stuff that you're saying is finally going to bring back the lobby movement that we saw pre-COVID, or pre-pandemic, where everybody was building these extravagant lobbies to kind of welcome people as they walked in. And everybody, you know, based on like that Salesforce idea, where the Salesforce people had the LED with the waterfalls, and I got bored of that very quick. Pretty much what everybody wanted. You're now starting to see different elements come into the space, not just from an LED perspective, but you're starting to see the projection and lighting, and all the designs that go into it are really thought out well. So I don't know, my trip to IAPA and seeing how experiential could be used in multiple spaces, not just in an amusement park world, that really changed my mind of where we're going. So 100%.
Yeah. And I think, you know, the message here is not you should use projection in place of lighting. The message is simple, that sometimes simplicity is more captivating than detail. And with projection, you have the best of both worlds. So when you need content, when you need that advertising content, that flexibility is there, that maybe a wash light or a gobo light projection won't give you, without having to physically go and change and have these stencils made up for you. The beauty of projection is when you want simplicity, it can be used for simplicity and do a really good job of just light, of just color. And it's a great way to sort of remind people that when you're looking at building and wash lights, what if you might want to map? What if one day you do want some sort of messaging over the front of your business? So actually taking it down the route of projection is a really good way of future-proofing that potential need. And I'm getting really excited about projection again. It feels like it was just as eye-catching and wow factor as the LED guys were delivering for the first time in a few years. The projection examples were just lovely. However,
we stopped looking at it as a flat matte surface, and that's where everybody's idea of projection was very utilitarian. It's on a flat wall, and it's big, and it does the job, and that's what I needed because it didn't exist as a 160-inch screen. And they want a 160-inch screen. Yeah, you can get that, but it's going to cost you LED, and that's wonderful. And trust me, we got a lot of. How many times did Joe Way thank us for having LED instead of projection at our consultant event? Right? He absolutely loved the fact that he was able to stand in front of a screen and point at it as opposed to having the projector.
With no shadows.
No shadows and all that. So we've seen that from the stage. Now, projection in a as the filler, as the background is very interesting. And you're right. We stopped looking at it as just a flat matte white wall, and now we're going around curves and bends with it, and it's cool.
And it's coming into its own, right? As a really flexible technology that can do all of the things that actually hard surface display technology can't do. So it's great. And on that, the Sharp NEC booth, did you see the 55-inch e-paper?
Yep. It's come a long way too.
It has. It really has. And it was honestly, it was really vibrant. The colors were great. It's looking like a credible technology now for signage where you're not missing out on anything. Obviously, we know this technology is not for moving image. It's also not ideal somewhere where you want constant refresh of your static content. But when you know that this style of poster needs to stay on for an hour or so, or it's timetabled information, this is ideal. And I liked how they were showing us. Yeah, so sustainable.
It checks all the boxes. Yeah.
Well, they're offering it now, aren't they? With the whole, so you've got the e-paper with just battery or powered, and then you have the option of the same e-paper but with the solar panel sitting across the top, which is great. So you can be far more sustainable than you would be on a standard display, or you can go the whole hog and literally use sunlight to help you. I'll come back to
before you leave the Sharp the Sharp stand. I also want to wish our condolences to our good friend Graham Kirkpatrick, who had to leave the show early for family reasons, but he did make it back in time to the UK to say goodbye. So I just want to say thank you for stopping by. Even he came by our booth looking for us, and I got to see him for 5 minutes before he left. But I don't want to go into anything further than that, other than extend our condolences. He's a friend of the show and good person in general to the AV thing. And the community thing is huge to me. So that's it. Now we can move to the next.
Wow, love to Graham. So I'm going to come back to LED because I was really impressed with the Absen stand this year. I went over there to go and look at the transparent, but there was a whole load of other stuff. So we ended up grabbing Ben Phelps and interviewing him in our podcast studio. And we're going to play that pre-recorded interview, which turned out to be not just like an advert on an overview of what was on their booth. It turned into a really educational session about how LED is moving. So I'm going to stop talking about DV LED and let Ben do that on our pre-record in a moment. So my other shout outs, the IntelliMix bar. I mean, it's big. It's got 4 cameras in it. This is quite a big deal. We have had to service the larger rooms with lots of additional mic pods and extras and speakers and so on. So what this product promises brings serious simplicity to the larger meeting rooms, but also, isn't it interesting that, super premium solution is coming out of an audio vendor, which we always predicted would happen, that eventually this space would be returned somewhat to the audio guys. So great product. I'm not even sure if we have pricing, etc., available yet. I know it's not on the Midwich site. I'm not sure what their official release date is, but there was a lot of buzz about the Shure IntelliMix Bar Pro. I was really impressed as well with Logitech and their Rally AI and Rally AI Pro. The standard AI is in like a box, and the camera sort of recessed in the box, and then you can add the PTZ one on top of it, and that's the Pro version. It's got some great features. Do you know the thing I really liked? And I don't know, again, if this is the age and me with the whole simplicity stuff, but you can have a recession kit. So you can have it built into your wall, and then there's like a gray cover that sits over the top of it. So the camera is kind of recessed into the wall, totally almost invisible in your meeting room space. And that's quite a popular thing in high-end rooms of we don't want the tech to be noticeable. I really loved how that blend into the wall kit was there. And whilst we're on the it's all the architects and the designers, this is what they're looking for. Biamp, I really took for this year when you look around the booth and everything. So these guys are great at the whole Miko system. They have something to fit every room size, and they do it really well. What I would say about those guys is the aesthetics of some of these products is really nice. The pendant microphones, the parlay that comes down from the ceiling and across, and so it's just got a real sophisticated elegance to it in terms of how they design their products. And I said I wouldn't mention stuff that we did on the previous show, but again, that previously a Voco product, but the Biamp 4 USB that you pull out the cables from and so on and switch it. It's just lovely. You can make a really lovely looking meeting room out of Biamp kit.
It's incredible how many people I talked to were back to talking about retractable cables this year that stopped by our booth.
But we need to charge.
Yeah, it's incredible how, we are so attached. We are still tethered to certain things. And yes, there was a little company that I think NMK uses right behind our booth, and they were just shuttling people back and forth. I think it's
Arthur Home.
Not Arthur Home.
Oh,
Arthur Home makes the displays that come in. Okno.
Is it Okno? Yes, I've seen this. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. With the table.
And they were showing, yeah. It's wild that it makes me feel good that finally this design element is coming into our conference rooms, that people care the aesthetic of it. We've always reserved that for our residential side that doesn't want to see certain things, and we're finally. It's making it's made so much strides in the last 3 to 4 years, honestly, where we don't want to see anything on the cable. And yes, we can talk about how, like Logi, for example, Logi is very good at cable management. That's one of the things that they don't get enough credit for, is how they create covers to cover the back of their cameras, because you don't want to see a massive snake or spool of cables. The in-house, like the companies that are taking the extra time to 3D print and play with the idea of hiding the cables or mounting them into one. Specifically, they're also not going after creating their own cable, because that is typically the answer in the past. Let's create our own that has 1,000 things, and then it becomes a proprietary cable. We don't want that. Bundles or hides or masks that. And that could come as an L-shaped little piece of plastic that comes out of the back of your cameras. I love the fact that we're finally paying attention to these little details, because you do it in real life. If you're going to go buy a TV and you want the ultra thin TV, you're not buying one that's going to have 1,000 cables coming out of the back. How is it going to connect to that? So yes, the design element of things, I 100% agree. And I love the fact that we're finally looking at these companies that are solving these little things with just little bibs and bobs of things that can make it work. Sorry.
Yeah. And there's still a handful of companies out there that maybe need to catch up a little bit on the aesthetics of their products. Now, don't get me wrong. Do not prioritize aesthetics over functionality. That's not going to help. The first thing is, does this system meet my needs analysis? Does it meet my meeting room workflow? But after that, it's about luxury And we have to remember that the majority of meeting rooms host visitors. So adding that luxurious feel, that beautiful design, the thing that blends into your wall, all of that, that is how you represent yourself. You know, it's kind of like a uniform. It's the meeting room products that you select. They are like the uniform that your staff would wear. You want them to be a projection of what's important to your business. And if what you're offering is a premium service, then that luxurious premium feel of your technology needs to be there in the room as well. I've got one more before we shift over to Absen. I don't know if he'll thank me, but I managed to convince Lee to show this one. So we won't be able to talk over the video, but here is Lee demonstrating a lift and learn on the Brightsign booth. So I thought it was really cool that they went for paddle. I don't know about you guys, but paddle has become like super popular in the UK suddenly. Yeah, Brightsign have a really good way of going, this is the trending thing, and that's what we'll build our demos around. Now, that was the one. So that's using Nextmosphere sensors. You lift the product off, it triggers the content. I just thought it was a really nice setup and so relatable to people because that's what people are shopping for now. However, I couldn't film it because there were actual customers having a demonstration of it behind me. But this time on the Brightsign booth, they also demonstrated with Netgear, Nextmosphere, a lift. So it was a weight recognition, but it recognized the weight that you took away. So there was a pile of products, and if you lifted one, it determined what you'd picked up by the subtraction figure of the weight, if that makes any sense. So, and then that would tell, which is great. So the version that we just showed where Lee was picking up the different paddle rackets, that's reliant on you knowing what you want to look at, and it's prompting you pick this up to get more information. Whereas the demonstration behind it that I didn't manage to catch on camera, you weren't required to notice that there was anything to interact with. You could just pick something up, and behind you, this huge screen would suddenly go, hello, here's the information that you might need about this product. I loved that. I loved that there was no requirement for anyone to realize that there was technology there, that you could use it. It could blend into people's natural behaviors and then optimize their experience and give them all the information that they might need. Because I know sometimes if I pick up a product and I think, oh, that's nice, I'm drawn to it, and then I have a bunch of questions, but I haven't got time to go find someone and so on. So I just put it back down. Whereas having picked it up, if all of the information that I might need suddenly appeared on a screen that I didn't even notice was there the first time, oh, now I've gotten everything I need to know, and potentially I'm going to go ahead and buy it. So I thought that was a really good one. I'm guessing I couldn't get it on camera, but they frown on you kicking out proper customers to film stuff just for a podcast. So yeah, great. Just
Jenny,
as always,
your observation seemed to be also seen by others. As somebody who, obviously, I said I spend a lot of time in meetings at our booth, global integrators that are out there looking at different products. And I had various meetings with both Tony Fergali for our national accounts and obviously with Kevin O'Dowd for our global accounts. The practicality of demos have gotten better. It wasn't a, here's something. Demos now are being thought out better. Their stand was being thought out better. Similar to what you said about pickleball being a top line sport, using that as the means to, I've been pickleball racket shopping and this is what I want to do, right? Kind of stuff has actually really taken front and center. And I love the fact that it's not just a booth, like it's not somebody like, in our example here, we have Karen Horsup who builds our, who manages and watches over our booth. We had demos. It would not just be a booth person's responsibility to come up with, right? These are now researched and thought out. The demos have gotten better. The stand, if you're going to look at a TV, you're going to see it in the setting that you want to see it, right? TVs that are non-reflective being put in spaces that have a lot of light, being in the shadows. And God, we we remember this of projection, companies darkening everything. Now curtains are down, everything's up. Come on, come at me, bro, with the lights. We'll handle all this sort of stuff. The practicality of things and what you would use those for are being shown a lot better. So in a general, kudos to the manufacturers. They're thinking this out, just not throwing this ivory tower idea of what you want to use it for, but actually listening and doing.
But that's it. It's exactly what we discussed right at the beginning of this stream. It's taken us 50 minutes to come back to exactly where we started. But we said then, didn't we, about the LED? We're finally at a point where you tell us what you want and we have technology to fit to it. Whereas before it was,
Absolutely.
oh, here's the latest and greatest, you build around it. And it's exactly the same when we're talking about this. We're finally at a point now where it doesn't matter what that core technology type does. There's a way to make it relevant to every application or every trending sport or whatever it is to entice people in, to show them there is a way that almost every product across those 8 huge halls fits into your life or a part of your life. Almost everything there. You may not realize that you experience it in your day-to-day life, but you will do. And that is the fabric of AV that runs through all of us. Now, we are massively over time, but we have the interview with Absen, which I think is really key to some of our messaging. So shall we roll that now? And then we can come back and say our goodbyes to everyone afterwards. So this is a show floor interview with Absen. We are on the show floor at ISE 2026, and I have Ben with me from Absen.
Hi, Jenny.
And I'm going to ask Ben, you've only been here a day?
Yep.
But tell our listeners what is on your booth or what's different this year.
Oh, okay. That's a good question. So, on our booth this year, I'm going to say I was very surprised in a good way yesterday morning when I arrived at the booth, because I've seen all the plans for a long time. We've been talking for months of the prep on it, and I've seen the list of products that we're going to show. But it's only when you get here and you see it with your own eyes that you kind of understand what it is and what it is that we're showing and how we're showing it. And the reason I say that is because in the industry in general for a long time, and I only realized yesterday morning, in the industry we've been talking for years and years about a COB revolution, right?
What is it?
Yeah, okay. So COB is, in basic terms, it's a PCB with LED diodes built into it with a resin coating over the top. And that resin coating is super complex, but in basic terms, we call it a resin coating. And what that resin coating does is give extra durability to the front side of the screen. Okay, so you can literally go up to the screen and knock it, and you're not going to cause any problem. Whereas SMDs in the past, especially as pixel pitch came down, got more and more delicate and more fragile, and you could rub up against it and you might take a pixel off, which, you know, if you're putting a screen in a public place isn't ideal. So it kind of combats, in the very small pixel pitches, it combats that. And we've been talking, you know, that the industry as a whole, a COB revolution, it's a horrible word, isn't it, revolution, but a COB revolution, it's all going to be COB one day. And we've seen the price drop considerably over the last few years, and that is true. But this year, when I walked around on Monday morning, when we were allowed to look at the stand, I realised that on the Pro AV side of it, so, you know, the business is divided into Pro AV and Live, but on the Pro AV side, all of the products apart from one are COB. Okay. But we're not making a song and a dance about that. We're not. That's not the theme of the booth this year. In fact, I haven't heard any of my Chinese colleagues even mention that fact. It's just happened. And sometimes with technology, that's the best thing that can happen. It just naturally happens when it's at the right moment to. We're not forcing it. Yeah. You know, we're not pushing a product that's not quite ready, which, you know, in previous years at ISE we might have seen some do, perhaps, which is fine because it pushes the industry forward a little bit as well. But most of our screens are COB, and that's a big moment, and it's quite exciting actually. And COB has really improved over the last few years to a point where I feel really confident in front of one of our screens, and that's a nice place to be.
What's happened with price though? Because chip on board is historically been more expensive?
It's been prohibitive to the majority of end users.
Yes.
Unless there's someone who really wants to show off, or there's someone that really wants the latest technology for whatever reason it might be, it has been prohibitive. I'd say, that changed 2 or 3 years ago, actually, in a lot of cases. In fact, we no longer make, in most cases, very fine pixel pitch in SMD. It's all COB now. The reason being that it's got to the point where equivalent pixel pitches and equivalent characteristics of the screen specifications are pretty much at the same price point, if not slightly cheaper in COB now as well. So in a corporate world, it means that our icon, for example, we've got one on there. Our icon is now, we don't make icon, which is an all-in-one series in big screens, 163, 136 inches. It comes in smaller panels, so you can build it up easily. But that is only available now in COB, because it's just a much better product for that type of application. I would also say, I think there's a caveat to all of this, and for me the most exciting product on the stand isn't going to be anybody else's most exciting product on the stand, but there's a reason for that. Every year there's this kind of fight between the manufacturers, and it's a very healthy one, that pushes pixel pitch as small as possible. We're showing a 0.7, we're showing a 0.6, we're showing a 0.5, and that's great because it pushes the industry forward. But those products in themselves aren't relevant products in the market as things are right now, unless someone wants the best of the best and they want to show off, as we said before. But
or they're going to stand right in front of it, I suppose.
But the difference from 0.6 to 0.5, you're going to be pretty hard pushed to see. I mean, hey, it will get to the point when your television at home at 43 inches might be that.
Yes.
That's a different conversation for. But as things are right now, in the real world, for 99% of the end users that might be looking at using LED, that's nice that it's happening, but it's not relevant to them. What's more relevant is the advances in the pixel pitches that are right now, I want to say reasonably priced isn't the right word, is it? But are a sensible purchase. So your 1.2s, your 1.5s, even the 0.9. So those price points they've dropped amazingly over the last 5 years, over the last 2 years really, to the point that, as we said before, so equivalent pixel pitch with the SMDs that we used to make, it's actually cheaper to buy it in COB now. But for me, this is the point I was trying to make. Sorry, I've gone round a bit. For me, the most exciting product are the larger pixel pitch COB that we have.
Okay.
Which is a bit different, I think, from the perspective that others will have. In fact, when we did the booth tour with our Chinese colleagues, they didn't even stop and talk to us about that product, even though we've got it on the booth. It's the COB XL. But I think from a real world perspective, it's exciting because it's a 1.5 and a 1.8 COB. It's a entry level COB product. Okay, so when my Chinese colleagues, all respect to them, said we are going to be launching in Europe an entry level COB product, your heart sinks for a moment and you think, oh, all this work that we've done building up the brand, Absen brand over the years, and we bring out one product which isn't quite up to scratch, that could undo a bit of the hard work that we've done. But when I saw it with my own eyes on Monday, it was the biggest surprise that I got, that the performance of that product is excellent.
And where is it best suited? So,
I was saying before, there's competition of lowering pixel pitch, and that's fine for even home cinemas and things, maybe for top-end, high-end customers. But I'm talking more about making COB attainable for retail, which is kind of the world that I've come from and that I'm focused on with LED, for anywhere where the screen is in a public space, so even a hotel lobby, perhaps, an office lobby, where people might go up out of curiosity and touch the screen. Worst case scenario, in retail, fast fashion, you've got people, kids walking up to the screen and hitting it and knocking it, or people very carelessly walking past with bumping into it, and that's fine. And that has the real world, right? Yeah. And with larger pixel pitch SMD that we had in the past at 3.9, well, you could just about get away with it because the plastic mask that was between the pixels would give enough protection, and you could just swap it out.
And a pixel gone, I suppose, in a
over the total canvas might not be so obvious.
Yeah, that's true as well.
At a wider pixel pitch.
That's true as well. Absolutely true as well. And you could just swap out the modules, and it wasn't too much of a big deal. But when the SMDs got smaller, below a 2.5, then it does get quite delicate. The truth is, and then, do you want to be putting protection in front of the screen? Some do that, and that's fine. Not everyone can be a Louis Vuitton with a security guard in the door saying, controlling who comes into the store.
Yep.
There are locations where it's a lot more susceptible. Let's say, let's say, not to name drop, but imagine, an IKEA with a trolley, someone going around with a trolley being a little bit careless. If that trolley hits a screen, it's going to hurt, right? It's going to do damage. So with these COB products in the 1.5 and the 1.8, which aren't getting much attention, but not to go on about it, but I'm excited about it. It makes COB a very, very good option
Durable.
for retailers. It's durable, and it's at a price point now where we can match in a pixel pitch on one of our normal SMD product, not the high-end SMD stuff, but a normal SMD product. It's like for like, so it's a bit of a no-brainer in that regard to swap over to COB. And in fact, I think the conversation of convincing a customer to drop down from a 2.5 SMD to a 1.8 COB is actually a very possible conversation right now, especially if they can come and see with their own eyes the advantages of that. That's not to knock SMD. There's another thing that's happening as well. We've got these contrasting technologies, but the LED industry's always had that, right? We started with DIP on the outdoor screens. We still make a couple of DIP products, right, for outdoor. And there are still advantages to that product. SMD came along. It's not that it's better than, it was a product that lived simultaneously and allowed us to reduce the pixel pitch, which we couldn't do with the DIP before that. So, okay, that's fine. And then COB's come along, and it's not that it's better than SMD as a technology. It's a different technology for a different use case.
And there are advantages for those use cases.
And exactly right. So they they can live side by side. So there will be times when, on our stand, we've got, for example, a double-sided P2.5 big hanging screen. It's our KDS.
Double-sided. Okay.
So that's designed, which, you might think in a shopping mall or in a train station or in a public space where you want to be advertising on both sides. So it's less than 40 millimeters thick, which is easy to say, but when you see a giant screen hanging as we have on the stand here, and it's only 40 mil thick, that looks really clean. It looks really nice. It looks really modern. It looks really lightweight as well. And it has that wow factor that we spoke about before. And
I think I've seen something transparent on your booth.
You've seen something
this
transparent
week.
as well. So we can combine those two things. So we've got the transparent, we've got the JDH, the P6, so it's 6 horizontally, 6 vertically. And we could call it a film, I guess, if you wanted to call it that. How we have it presented, it's hanging up high on the booth. So there's no glass, right? Because we can't manage massive pieces of glass at a trade show. And an exhibition. But ideally what you would do is you would stick that to the front or to the rear of a large piece of glass. We might think of it, an atrium in a shopping mall facing outwards.
And what does it look like when it's switched off?
So when it's switched off, it's got 70% transparency, I think, the P6. So when it's switched off, it just looks like there's almost like a mesh over the window, but that 70% transparency allows you to see what's happening on the outside. And more importantly than that, the reason why you would probably put in a transparent LED screen in that kind of scenario, there are two reasons. One of it is you've still got the wow factor of it. A normal person isn't used to seeing transparent LED, and when the screen's off and suddenly comes on with a bit of content, you still get that, oh wow, I didn't even know that was a screen moment, which is kind of cool.
Active glass, active wall.
Yeah, perfect. And the other practical side of it, which is very important, is it allows light to come into the space behind, right? So I've known retailers that have been using it quite well for 10 years. But you have the conversation of, well, what can you do with a transparent screen? And it is stunning, but you have to pretty much make content especially for it.
Design that content.
Design that content and have it. And not everybody can do that. Not everybody understands why you need to do that. But the reason you need to do that is because with a normal LED screen or a television at home, the contrast comes from the blacks that are on the panel, right?
Which you can't produce.
And you can't do that with transparent. Yeah. There's no black there. What the contrast comes from however dark the space behind that screen is. So if it's quite light behind that screen, then there's very little contrast on it. And so if you are, I've seen case studies in China where there are enormous transparent screens and they are showing advertising content, but they're showing standard advertising content. And I think, well, whoever is paying for that probably isn't conscious or weren't at the time of it all being sorted out
of what it was,
actually going to look like. And it looks, at night it looks fine because the space behind it, the lights are turned off and it looks okay. But during the day, if you've got a bit of text on there or you're trying to show off your product on that screen, it has almost a detrimental effect, actually. Those screens are more for bright colours, moving objects.
I think the key with
effects.
transparent is to make use of the physical behind the glass, right?
Sure.
So, build that into your content. That's when it looks best.
That's a very cool thing to do. I've been saying for a long time, and a few have done it, but not many do. If you can combine the screen and the window with an object behind it and play with that, then that's a brilliant thing to do. That's a brilliant thing. You're absolutely right.
And the right reason to use transparent.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's finish with a question, and I know we've only had one day.
Yeah.
But I've had a quick whiz around your booth. I haven't been on yet for my full booth tour, and I've seen a stage area, and I've seen examples for retail, and I've seen the transparent, and I've seen an example for a corporate boardroom.
Yeah.
What type of end users or customers, what's drawing people to the stand, or what's the biggest group of people and use case that you've seen? What's most popular? Is it that virtual production stage area, or is it corporate, is it retail?
Yeah, correct. So I think we can divide our clients into two, right? So we've got the rental and staging side of it, so that we've won prizes for our PL product, for example, and I'm not an expert in that type of product, but the stage that we have looks stunning. In fact, we are launching here a COB rental product, which tells us where we're going with the COB, right? Which is really unusual, apparently.
So next year there'll be none.
Well,
be
maybe
no
not, maybe not exactly, or anything below 1.5 won't be. So you know that side's getting a lot of attention. The stage and our star product that's getting most attention is the new CLV3 we have, which is, so I spoke earlier about our entry level, let's say, COB product, which I think is great for 1.5 and 1.8. On the other end of the scale, we've got our premium LED, the CLV3. So we're showing off the 1.2, but we also have a 0.9.
And where is that ideal for?
So that's the show-off screen that we said before, right? This is a high-end corporate lobby.
Okay.
This is a conference room.
No IKEA trolleys running into this.
No, exactly. Yeah. Well, hey, I tell you what,
it would survive.
It would survive,
okay.
and it would look great in a high-end retail location, and the price point isn't as crazy as you might think.
Yeah.
And what's incredible about that screen is that it's 1,200 nits, which is high bright actually for COB, for indoor COB, or for normal COB, and it's got 1,600 peak brightness, so you can pick out parts of the screen and increase that brightness if you activate that function. But more than that, it's 30,000 to 1 contrast ratio. And I've had this issue that I've been talking to people for a while about 30,000 to 1 contrast ratio, and that's just words, right? It's just numbers, just words. It's very hard to visualize that. But when you see how, in simple terms, how deep the blacks are on the screen and how that brings out the whites and the colors on that, then it looks absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
The screen is stunning. It's one of the stars of the show, I would like to think, to be honest. I mean, you know, I haven't been to every stand yet, but I'm very particular and very fussy And when I looked at the screen and I get really close to it, look at the viewing angle, look at the shine of it in the matte finish, and I can't find fault in it. And you know, I would encourage anybody that gets the opportunity to come and see it to do that. I'm focusing on because I really love the XL, as I said before, because I can see the use in that. But the most stunning screen is the CLV3. We've also got, I have to mention it, we've also got a semi-outdoor COB.
Okay.
In a full outdoor enclosure.
Semi-outdoor.
Yeah, okay. I need to be careful with that. So the screen itself, we sell the screen within an enclosure.
Right.
And that enclosure is fully outdoor. So we can say it's an outdoor solution. Okay? And what it is on the inside of that is a high-bright 3,500 nit P1.2 COB. Again, you know, these things roll off the tongue,
Yeah.
right? But actually, that is quite an achievement. That means that COB becomes accessible to advertising companies that want to do to swap out 70, 80-inch monitors that might be on a bus shelter, for example, and you can swap it out for LED with the brightness advantages, the durability advantage,
lifetime,
with all
the lifespan of the product.
Correct.
Right.
The repairability,
Yes.
I would even say, on that as well. And so that we've got it on the stand, and it looks incredible. So as a whole, the product itself is outdoor, designed for that, and on the inside of that is the 3,500 nit COB 1.2. So for advertising now, it needs to be that smaller pixel pitch, because if you've got text that needs to legally be read, for
Yes.
example, on an advert, then it needs to be that tighter pixel pitch, and that's worth seeing as well. That's stunning too.
Great. Thank you very much.
No, you're welcome.
So I'm going to let Ben get back to his booth. And where can people reach you, Ben, if they didn't come to ISE and they want to know more about the Absen range?
Okay. Well, feel free to email me. Benjamin.phelps@absen.com. I'd be very happy to answer any questions, or if anybody wants more information about that. If not, you can visit abseneurope.com website as well.
Perfect. Thanks so much for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Jenny.
All the LED info in just 20 minutes.
There we go. That was a wonderful interview. Thank you, Jenny. He really delivered on some info there. Yeah, you're right. Getting a video like that.
I left that and was like,
perfect.
I'm an expert. I could work for Absen. Off we go. Yeah, really, really useful.
Jenny, I have to say a shout out to our to our team that put together that booth. It was great that you actually shot the interview inside our Avion Air studio that was on our show floor. The Chris Hampton Joyce knocked it out of the park with the gear that went into the space. The look and design and the feel of the space is amazing. This wasn't a folding table and a couple microphones anymore. This is now, and on the show floor that we're doing that, was a real deal studio. And it really shows how far we've come from the days of Basecamp to where we are today with Avion Air, and the where this market is going for enterprise broadcast internally. Yes, you can call that a podcast studio, but that's not the one in your mom's basement with a 16-year-old doing that. That is enterprise grade ready. That is what you would put in spaces, and you can call it what you will: podcast studio, recording studio, executive briefing center. These spaces are existing in the corporate world and beyond now, and it's becoming a thing. Our next big show, obviously, leads right into a plug for NAB, but that's our next big show for the US. And obviously, there's a lot of folks coming over from the UK as well, from various companies like Holden, who was the company that Chris Hampton Joyce works for and brought all the tech for that. And we have that similar tech. And what I love this year is that there was a QR code outside the booth. You give you a shopping list of what was in there. You can turn around and make those purchases immediately. For the only tech that was on our booth outside of the folks from our Ignite lab, which also was had a massive showing and presence inside our booth, where you can actually, giving the opportunity to these startups to have an audience with tech companies that are coming in and integrating. They did a wonderful job. Both NetSpeak and the audio company and Speech Lab and Cadence. They were all there and they were all representing and giving that opportunity for them to meet and interact with some of our with our partners, integrator partners globally is wonderful because some of these things are cutting edge to that next step. So thank you, Jenny, for that. I have a list of things that I got to kind of roll out, if it's okay, unless you've got something else to wrap up on the absence stuff.
Nope. Go.
I'm ready to go.
Do the shout out.
Okay. So I spent a lot of time in with folks, and unfortunately, it wasn't a, hey, Chris, come to our booth. I got plenty of those invitations and visits, and I apologize to the folks that I did not, wasn't able to go and take a look and sit down and have quality time with. But I did see him in passing. I did see him in the hallways. You want to know who those folks were? You know my DM. You know how to get a hold of me. Please do. I will tell you everything that I heard as far as a scoop goes. But I do have a lot of scoop as far as what I saw from a community perspective, right? Again, I will go back, thank Brock McGinnis for inviting me to the Professional Audio Video Society of Canada event. They took up an entire garden area, and it was a massive showing. That obviously has a lot to do with the politics currently in the US. I do not need to get into that. I will miss these folks at InfoComm. For the ones that are going to come, I will happily, meet and hang out and do all the cool things because they are very, they are still our AV brethren, regardless of what the politics of the world is saying right now. But that was a good, very good first showing and meetup for a brand new association that has now popped up in the world, and getting to see David Labuskis there and his farewell tour as he goes around and saying goodbye as he is retiring. So seeing both him and Sarah Joyce attending that event was wonderful. Obviously, we're going to go, and I had some pre-show conversations with folks and analysts, and I was again invited to a very super secret and ultra exclusive meeting, dinner / with a bunch of content creators. They lumped me into that. My content.
Oh, okay. I think we may have lost Chris. Oh no, he's back.
I'm back. That was just weird. It just said, hey, our rap party is over. I'm going to continue on with the conversation. One of the things that I got to do on Monday prior to the show was actually meet with some folks. Sunday night, there was a dinner that kind of happened, super secret, ultra, kind of exclusive content creation, bunch of people that got together. I will keep the names and people secret because that is part of the pact that we take when we assume these things. But there was a meeting
in Barcelona stays in Barcelona.
Exactly. The only thing I'll say is that it did happen at a restaurant called La Pepita, and it was a wonderful experience for folks that are invited to that as a content creator. Not as much as I used to be, but it was wonderful to still be part of that community and that group. One of the people I'd like to kind of shout out to is Craig Durr. Craig Durr was all over the show floor doing a lot of work, but I did shoot an episode of his Collab Cafe, which is I had been very difficult to schedule because of just my timing and his timing and being in the same place. But the one thing that is kind of fun and interesting about that, I shot that on Monday prior to our consultant event. And I did that on the streets of Barcelona. For folks that know me, I am paranoid walking down the streets of Barcelona because I think that my pockets are ready to be picked at any moment. But I was very calm, cool, and collective. And we actually got a really good conversation back and forth. And for folks that have never gone sneaker shopping with me, I had to take Craig Durr shopping after I saw the sneakers he was wearing. So yes, you will see me go into a sneakerhead store and help him out. And I will leave it to the show because I'm not going to spoil it as to what sneakers he bought. But I did give him a thumbs up approval. Anyway, the other thing, I did shoot an AV week. Tim Albright and his team was there. And I know you did one as well, Jenny. We were back and forth. I did not get to sit with Jenny. They separated us like siblings. We had to get separated. We were not allowed to be on the show together.
I got stitched up. So I got paired with Steph Beckett, which I don't think is very fair because I openly admitted that I was unable to see every hall of the show. And I get paired with the girl who's literally done 2,000 booth videos. It felt really like I'd been stitched up. But it was really good.
Yeah.
I think that's out actually. I think I've seen Tom
Yes.
post it. So go catch AV Week.
And I got paired up with Erica Carroll, who was there working with AV User Group as well. So it was a nice back and forth. It was her first ISE, so I had to It seemed like this year I worked with Tony Fergali, who was his first ISE, to kind of show him the ropes, show him around. He was like attached to me. It's like I got told by a couple of my management, hey, help Tony. This is his first thing, ease him into it. Tony was a pro. By day 2, he was ordering tapas on his own. I didn't need to hang around with him. He did wonderful there, and he completely walked away with the same thing, which is kind of like I'm going to tell you next. If this was not it, if it happened, if you are an ISE attendee and you didn't realize this maybe 2 years ago, I'm going to tell you that emphatically. End of story, end of question. ISE has become the show. It's not just a precursor to the other show. It is the show. And the reason why I say that is at any given point in our booth, because I had to spend so much time within our booth, and that's not a bad thing, there was 15 different languages being spoken. If that is not enough reason for you to say that is the show, 15 different languages with 15 different integrators with 15 different companies from all parts of the world. If you want to purely talk about numbers, 92,000 attendees is a big number for us in AV. And it's a good, very, very good, solid showing. Don't get me wrong. But when you take it into context that we create a butterfly effect, right? What you do in a little what you think is a little deal happening in France, that butterfly effect can affect other parts of the globe, meaning the deal that you are working on in Lyon can lead to a bigger deal in the US and so on and so forth out to Singapore. You don't see that clearly until you're in a space where now you're calling in people from your different companies, in our cases, from different parts of the world. And I'm sitting there having a meeting with, Jenny comes into the conversation, Dino comes into the conversation, and then you have Kevin comes in and ties everything in on a global scale. That happens at ISE, for at least for me. Yeah. So if you wanted to talk about the tech and the tech is there. That's a given. We've told you that. Community-wise and people-wise, the melting pot is there unquestionably. And this year, because the amount of meetings I had to book, dinners, my first time I'm booking dinners to have dinners at a show there. Typically, that's a very Infocom thing for me to do. I ran dinners that I had to meet with customers who were there. That
shows how global ISE has become, right? That you can fly as far as you do and have that much of your local network in attendance, as well as then all of the sort of knock-on global stuff that comes. I have to share this. Those of you that have stuck around for the whole show will have seen how plagued we have been with technical difficulties today. At first we thought we weren't going to even be able to get on because we couldn't hear each other. All three of us have solid bandwidth, but for some reason Restream disagrees. And then to top it off, we've now both been kicked out briefly. We're not sure why. And producer Kerry has actually sent a message to us that just says, I'm now laughing. This is so ridiculous. So apologies. But we have decided to persevere because sometimes we have tech difficulties and then the people watching the stream tell us it was fine their end. So on that, the Absen video is going to be shared as a video on its own on our YouTube channel. So if that didn't come through very well on this live stream, you can go back and watch it. But we also haven't had access to any questions, but I do now know of one that came through from Neville Bounds, which says, I have a question. Do you think that vendors are now using ISE as more of a launch show for some of their new products as opposed to Infocom? I think yes, Nev. However, I actually don't believe that it's a preference for one or the other. I think it's to do with the timing. So ISE is right at the beginning of February. Everyone's come back to work. You're right at the start of a calendar year. It lends itself to new product releases. That's the whole point that you can start the year with the new product releases. Either they're ready to ship. I know a lot of people plan to announce new products at the show, but have them ready to ship as well. So it's like shipping date is from a week after. So I do. I think that most vendors prefer to launch at ISE than they do at Infocom, and it's purely that it's at the start of the year, not halfway through. But also, I would be cautious not to write off Infocom for that reason, because I know as an attendee, I can complete Infocom. I can get around the whole thing. I can see everyone, and I can leave knowing that I got every new product announcement. I visited every booth, every vendor that maybe I wouldn't have seen before. And I cannot say the same for ISE. So whilst I get it,
Yeah.
and it's a great way to start your year by announcing your new products at ISE, because it's at the start of the calendar year. Honestly, if you flipped the two shows, I think it would naturally happen at Infocom if Infocom was in the February. So I don't think it's a conscious decision. I think it's about timing, and the fact that there are more exhibitors. So naturally, it feels like there's more new product announcements.
I will go one step further as well and say that I think Infocom really does whisper suites better than ISE. And that has, to be honest with you, it's has a lot to do with the geography of things. I don't have to take a bus to go to the other, random hall that I've never visited. So the whisper suites at Infocom are easily done. So if you want me to see something that is coming because you think it's really cool and you would love my opinion on it, I just feel that it's done better at Infocom. I think that our system has been broken since 2020, to be honest with you, as far as I think companies have been very confused as far as when to release things. It actually probably broke before then when certain manufacturers had stopped just saying, we're not going to come to the shows anymore, period, because of the pressures of possibly, having to release something new.
Yeah, but also be careful.
Dates.
There's a difference between release and announce. And if you dig into a number of the announcements from 2 weeks ago, then.
And Jenny lost it. But there's also a difference between vaporware and, new product. And I love how they just censored you.
I don't know what it
big
is
video
that I keep saying that it doesn't like.
Big AV.
It just keeps kicking me out.
It's big AV. They're out to censor us. We can't be stopped.
I think it's time that we give up, actually. So this has been our most interesting and eventful technical stream. And I'm going to, we did have a couple more things, but I'm going to save them for our next show. Which follow on us on LinkedIn, and you'll see it come up there. Chris, I think we have to cut our losses before it tries to kick us out one more time. Say thanks to the folks.
I'm just going to leave one more rumor out there because it's personal more than anything else. It's internal to our team, but there is rumor circulating because I saw Dan Farisi at commercial integrator at ISE, and I got about 10 minutes of a conversation with him and Sean Tobin. But there is rumors going around that a new AV living legend will be joining the fray from Midwich. So it's not me. I've already joined, but I'm there, but it's not me. But rumor has it somebody else is going to join. So I'm eagerly anticipating that. And I would be remiss if we didn't talk about it
at the end of a live show.
Just going to leave that nugget and leave it in mystery. Listen, it's not a preview. It's kind of it's a spoiler. I'm just letting you know something is coming, and he wouldn't tell me who was nominated, but he said one of your team is finally going to join the ranks. It's cool. And then the last thing that I have still on the list is our Consultant Connect conversation that we had a massive opportunity there to meet with consultants, and I'll let you get into that a little bit more. But specifically for me personally, I want to thank Stefan Tremblay for coming to the event. He was the CEO of SDVOE. He was part of our panel along with Netgear and Giorgio DeVecchi. And one of the consultants. It was a wonderful panel led by Peter from our NMK team, and very insightful, very good stuff coming out of that. I'll let you finish on the consultant
Yes,
the
so
Consultant
I
Connect
mean, my
event as
initial
well.
plan was I was going to try an attempt to screen share just to give you a flavor of what the Consultant Connect portal looks like. But honestly, I don't think it's worth the risk of us just absolutely crashing this stream.
No.
So what I will leave
No.
here is that we will absolutely bring you more detail of the consultant portal, which was launched at our event, which was so much bigger than just that. There was a fantastic content program, just a really great opportunity for global consultants to meet in the room. But if you would like to check it out, please be a consultant, because otherwise it's not overly relevant to you. But if you are an AV consultant from anywhere in the world, www.midwichconsultantconnect.com, and you will be able to request a login, and we can then approve you and jump on a call and walk you through how that portal works. It will give you access to trainings and webinars that we are advertising all across the globe. You've got an event schedule. You've got a full Midwich staff contacts. I don't mean literally everyone. I mean anyone that's of relevance to consultants, be that through technical expertise and specialism or the consultant liaison in that region. We've got our showroom locations, the ability to book time at our showroom. So don't feel that you are restricted to just your country. If you have a client, you'd like to take them somewhere else, we might be able to help host them there. There's a series of resources, schematic diagrams, and the coolest part is we have regional MSRP pricing that you can access and run through. So when you're in front of a client and you need that quick indicative cost, which is, we hope, that the highest potential price that you could pay, it's there just for you to run those quick calculations without having to stream through multiple different websites.
Multiple brands all in one location.
Yeah. So what's it designed for? It's designed to be a time-saving tool for AV consultants. So if you are one, go ahead, midwichconsultantconnect.com, request a login, and then we'll get in touch and walk you through the platform. It's very much a version 1. And we have a whole bunch of feedback that we took from our event 2 weeks ago that is really exciting and now forming part of the roadmap of where this portal goes. So I think we cut our losses, Chris. It's over to you to say goodbye.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, let's finish it while we're ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Just again on housekeeping thing, our next big show is obviously NAB on the US side, and obviously different folks from different parts of our companies will be attending that. If you would like to catch up at NAB, you know how to get a hold of me, and not only can you get a hold of me, but I can spider that out and do what I do and make sure that you meet with folks that are coming in from the UK and beyond, and make that lot smaller. Let's go ahead and do that. That's our next show for Midwich on Air. That will be sent out. The follow-up, I guess we have to start doing this. We've had such a good response and feedback from our new rebranding and getting our show back up and running. We would love to continue doing it. You guys request it. We'll be here. We'll be here for you and keeping you abreast of what's going on. And as you can see, we do have opinions, and that is sometimes good and bad. But we are here to deliver the honest truth and nothing but the truth, right? I think that's what we try to do. At least what we believe is the truth. And we're only, I'm only as valuable as the truth that's told to me. But outside of that, Jenny, is there anything that you would like to close on? And I will go ahead and wrap the show up with a bow.
No, I'm officially too afraid to talk in case I get kicked out of the stream again. So we promise to come back next time with better, with better technical stability.
Correct. That's how we're going to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Midwich on Air.